Oh yeah, just we are not streaming. Is what you mean, or
Yeah, yeah,
sharing? We usually share the recording every single time, so all our
yeah,
previous sessions are on YouTube.
yeah. But
Okay,
I'm not sure
but
about today if there is anything.
okay.
Yeah,
But today
but
we have
you
such
should.
nice backgrounds. You you want to keep sharing it. Let's see. Yeah, so maybe like a general brainstorm.
Mm,
I don't know, or you suggest whatever it is. Maybe a little more coding you want. Like another
mm.
example. I think the time before the last time, which the last time was really short. That was pretty interesting that you came up with this nice example,
Yeah,
which was doing something.
I still want to finish it at this kind of
Oh,
Gantt
okay.
chart for GitHub milestones. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Now I
because I
remember.
actually could need it for some projects because I do all of my project management on GitHub and I'm a little bit too lazy to manually create Gantt charts for each project, and I want to have some kind of visualization for projects.
Mhm.
This would be really great. Um, yeah.
There were, if I'm not wrong, there were like two drop down boxes or lists where you pick at first you pick a repo, and then no, you pick an organization first, and then from this organization or user depending like what it is. I think it was organization. You can pick a specific repository, and then you will see all the milestones. I think it worked to a degree where you could retrieve milestones. There was a
Yeah.
problem where you picked organization and then you wanted to change it or something like this. It didn't work. It just only reacted once for the first selection.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
We couldn't
Um,
figure out what's the problem, so we carried on.
yeah. I'm not sure. I think I somehow didn't quite. I think the source code is lost somewhere, but we could
Oh,
rewrite
okay.
it. I mean, it wasn't. If we just if I would just rewrite it, it would just take like 15 minutes now. But yeah,
Hmm.
it yeah, it would be really interesting to build something like this again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about this general thing about I guess Jamstack in general. Like if you want to create a new event, for example, a new event would have a oven page,
yeah,
which in a perfect world you would have it as a static page, right?
mm-hmm.
But if you want to have a good user experience, you have to create it quickly somehow. You have a fill out form like at meetup.com. You want to announce a new event, like create new event. You have a form. You fill out the fields there. You push create or whatever, like save, whatever it is button the confirmation button is. And I would expect in a matter of like a half a second or something like this, even less, to have to send the user to the actual landing page of this event.
Yeah.
How technically would it be possible?
I'm not sure. You would definitely. It would just definitely be something asynchronous that is running.
Yeah.
So you somehow need to wait for it. Um,
Oh, you are you would expect like some waiting time, right? Like some, I don't know, like a circle rotating couple of seconds or
yeah,
so.
yeah, something like that.
Couldn't be it created potentially completely on the front end for the beginning and data from it sent to the backend so that the backend would create a static page, but not for immediate use, maybe like for 10 for the use in 10 seconds or so. So that would mean there would be a dynamically created a landing page for an event, which will turn in a few seconds into a static one when you call it next time, something like this.
I understand what you mean.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be like a very snappy, very quick user experience. So you create it, it would create it on the front end. The only thing what is required probably is to forward you to the landing page URL actually, to the new event URL. What I think can be done within the front end completely, because last time you said the front end framework also take cares of the routing, and it also can be dynamic and so on. But in the long run, we want to have this page as a static page for performance, security, and so on and so forth.
That's true. Yeah. I'm not sure about that.
If we
That's
could
a little
have
bit
an
more
example like
difficult.
this, but then I think we need to involve already like this Svelte kit. It could be like something completely abstract. Or I don't know, maybe it's just there's a solution for it within the Svelte kit. We just don't know the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I forgot already a little bit about how SvelteKit works under the hood for some stuff. Yeah. And I mean, with server-side rendering and also with static sites, how you create them with Svelte. I'm not really sure about that anymore. But I would guess for some of the frameworks, server-side rendering frameworks, if you would have static sites, that if they aren't yet generated, they would just be server-side rendered. And you know what I mean?
So you're talking about generally static site generators?
Yes,
Old school?
something like Next.js or something like that. I don't know how SvelteKit
If
does
you
it.
say static site generators in general, like a classic one, I would say
No,
Jekyll.
static sites, you can generate static sites with SvelteKit or
Yeah,
with Next.js.
next or next, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
I
part of
guess,
their functionality, but they also have like another part which is we figured it out like a few sessions ago, which is a dynamic processing and dynamic creation of stuff on the front end, I guess, and that's a tricky part, That's a tricky part to understand as well.
that's
But
really true.
what we want to have at the end is a very snappy and quick interface. Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you have to wait like for 5 seconds. Once you create it, there should be like a rotating thing, and in 5 seconds you will be redirected to the already a static instance of it, static like
Yeah,
thing. I don't know if
maybe
it will.
something.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Do you know Astro? Or I think you told me
Astro
about it.
is something what is not using JavaScript on on the output, right? You,
It can.
it can, okay.
Um,
It turns everything into HTML and CSS, if I'm not completely wrong. But you can code it in JavaScript, kind of. I think.
yeah.
Or let's dive
The
into
thing
Astro this
is,
time, if you want.
yeah, we could. From what I understood was that Astro really generates static sites, and some of the things it can't solve on the back end, it will just you can still have some JavaScript on the front end, but only the JavaScript that actually needs to be on the front end, like some kind of registration for the event.
Mm.
But the actual page will just be generated on the back end. Yeah. something like
It's they have a
this.
very interesting
Yes.
domain name, astro.build.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, yeah. Mm, I don't know what should be.
100 seconds of Astro. There's a
Yeah,
video in 100 seconds explanation of it.
yeah,
Yeah, build faster websites with less client-side JavaScript. For technology built on top of three different languages, the modern web seems to focus on an awful lot of on JavaScript. We don't think it has to, and that's certainly not a revolutionary concept. We will eagerly jump at the chance to sing JavaScript's praises, but HTML and CSS are pretty great too. That's aren't enough modern tools. There aren't enough modern tools which reflect that, which is why we are building Astro. While we are at it, it's time to accept that framework wars wouldn't have a winner. That's why Astro lets you use any framework you want. Interesting. Or none at all. That's also interesting. And most sites only have islands of interactivity. Shouldn't our tool optimize for that? We are not the first to ask the question, but we might be the first with an answer for every framework. We are hard at work on Astro. Keep your eyes to the skies, astronauts. Okay, this is also something what. And they are of course sponsored by both Jamstack giants, Netlify and Vercel.
yeah. That's always interesting that they are like really competing there. You can always see it like nearly nearly like every project that has something to do with Jamstack is sponsored by both of them.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're not like openly really competing against each other. They kind of, I guess, I understand that this Jamstack, by pushing Jamstack in general, they are both the winners of on the market, and there's plenty of the market is pretty big for the Jamstack, but there are also potential markets, so they don't have to be like super aggressive against each other, and that makes total sense. I think Vercel is really has developed itself like really nicely as a company behind Jamstack lately, and Netlify is a no-brainer, right? Like the inventor of Jamstack is the CEO of the
yeah,
company.
yeah, or at least the term. I mean, it's not so super extremely innovative what they do.
With Astro,
Basically,
you mean, or
no,
Jamstack in
with
general?
Netlify,
Yeah.
because all of the things they do existed before. Before Netlify, there already was Jekyll and I think Hugo as well, and also GitHub Pages hosting and also many other hosters. But what they did was basically this all-in-one service. Yeah.
Mm.
And he
They
kind
did it a
of,
better branding.
he kind of just invented this umbrella term for all
Yeah.
of these technologies. Yeah.
And still, this umbrella term is pretty vague. Whenever we talk about Jekyll, okay, it makes perfect sense, and it's still like a classical Hugo and um, Gatsby and stuff like this. That like pretty much like no brainer. But then once you go into Next, and SvelteKit, it's a mixture of things.
Mm.
Still falls under this umbrella, but it's not purely static anymore.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
there is a backend kind of. And the hosting providers, both Netlify and Vercel, they adapted pretty quickly to this framework, and now they're pushing them even harder. I think next, I don't know, I don't remember which is sponsoring which one, but yeah, they both. Next.js is pushed by Vercel for sure, Netlify, I think they are sponsoring Next, but not only Next, you see. So they're not really competing directly. They're just sponsoring whatever popular there is, whatever
Yeah,
framework.
I'm really interested in how much of their funding. Let's look up how much they are funded. I mean, it should be at least some hundreds of millions of dollars. And Crunch, I look on Crunchbase for stuff like that.
Hmm.
That we can see something.
If you want, you
Netlify.
can take over the sharing that for us to see.
Okay, Netlify has a funding amount of $202 million. And what about Vercel? They have 313 million of funding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it goes this way, I don't know, like could be both companies potentially could become public companies, IPO.
Yeah. I wasn't there like some speculation or something with Netlify? Netlify IPO. There is. Okay, no, not yet, but
Mhm.
I guess Netlify is kind of going into this direction.
Yeah.
Looks like this. Yeah.
It's still like as it will become more bright and like I don't know how to say, but like provide different kind of services, not just only hosting for particular like kind of websites, but also the CMS on top of it. I think they have it already. Also, serverless functions. I think this is what was missing for a while, but now they also have it. It's based on AWS Lambda
Yeah. Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So the more services they would provide, it kind of will make them more stable in income wise, I guess, and that will bring them closer to a IPO. But I see like a lot of development with Netlify right now. Maybe they're just catching up. I don't know, but seems like they are pretty much on the same either on the same technical level or not lagging very much from Netlify at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I only used Netlify myself, but also only for hosting and
Mhm.
sometimes those like redirects. I mean, I really like that you can, for example, for this gdg.nu domain, I used Netlify redirecting to redirect it to Eventbrite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
Vercel is also pretty nice hoster and very intuitive, very much like Netlify. I think they look alike in many senses. Still
I
some
guess so.
differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, but user experience wise or developer experience wise, both are pretty great. I'm using like I have like a couple of sites there, a couple of sites here. So as always, I'm trying to explore different technologies by actually using them. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, and you're not putting all the eggs in the same bin. Whatever Netlify goes down, half of your projects are still up. That's nice. Another way
Yeah,
around.
but yeah. Um, this week I heard a lot about the term multi-cloud.
Well, it's an old term already.
Yeah,
Nothing new.
but because of the AWS outage,
Yeah.
because some people were then advocating for multi-cloud, like um, distributing or more mirroring all of your services on multiple cloud providers. But
Hmm.
I think this doesn't like really work. Um,
Yeah. I also
yeah.
I'm hearing multi-cloud like at least for the last 3 years, if not even longer. But example that I saw this week, and it was caused, of course, by AWS, like outstanding AWS or very prominent AWS. Uh, what is it? Forgot the word.
Outage.
Outage. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Downtime.
yeah, outage actually. So that's this architecture of multi-cloud, which was described like a solution. It's just completely doesn't work. So many people understand multi-cloud as kind of using different pieces of different clouds in a general architecture. So there are still like single point of failure with every single cloud provider. It means if AWS goes down, it will not help that you are also using Google Cloud or Azure, because you are using them on a different spot completely, like in different chain of your architecture. So you see,
Yeah.
it's still multi-cloud officially. You use multiple clouds, but they don't compensate for each other. They complement each other, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a great solution actually.
I
So
I actually heard the same thing. Someone who commented on that um, instead of being more reliable, because you instead of like mirroring all of the stuff, the companies do a completely different thing. They are then like if Google Cloud is down, they are down. If Amazon Cloud is down, then they are also down. And with Microsoft as
that's
well,
double
with all of
stupid.
the yeah,
Yeah, so you make
like
yourself dependent on both clouds. You don't make yourself independent of them in a
yeah,
way. But
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
completely
I
stupid.
don't even
Yeah,
know how easy it is like to quickly switch the load and how it should be like architecturally done. I'm not as good in any like in a couple several like cloud providers, which tools they have for it, like to switch the traffic like seamlessly from one cloud provider to another one. I'm pretty sure there are ways. I don't know how standard they are, because yeah, I guess cloud providers are also realizing that customers actually want to use multiple cloud in a redundant way, not in a like exclusive way in their architectures. But yeah, of course they want to have like more people use actually more of their resources, not the other cloud providers. But yeah, anyways, it's interesting that at some point we will have to think about such things, but we are not nearly there. we
yeah,
don't we don't have such concerns. We are trying to put something up and running just within one any provider whatsoever.
yeah. I mean, at least for new projects, you don't have like those big dependencies and all of that stuff, which is great. So yeah,
Mm. Even with APIs, you could have like slightly different subdomains which would host the same APIs. And then if the first API doesn't respond within a certain
but
time, you would switch to the second endpoint, And
but the
from
thing
this point,
is,
yeah, go
it's
on.
it's not most of the times it's not important where the API front end is hosted, because even if you have your API front ends, once it's on Google Cloud, once it's on AWS, for example, and you can do load balancing between them somehow.
Hmm.
Then the other thing is, if your database is in, you also have to mirror your databases, and this is when it gets complicated, because um, most of the databases aren't really easy to mirror.
Yeah, we are solving problems of like a highest degree. The- but I'm pretty sure once we are there, we will find a solution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
even
guess so.
without much load balancing and everything, there is still it's a better solution than the classical old school kind of frameworks, which also can use load balancing, obviously, but still,
Mhm.
yeah. And if you're using third-party APIs, that's kind of interesting because it can also have an outage, or will become slow at some point. Like, yeah, I don't know. Everything can go down basically. So it would be interesting to solve at this point, or like understand how it works. This creation, dynamic creation of a brand new pages with the best user experience possible. Like in a perfect world, it would be almost immediate.
Mm.
But then how to transfer it, how to turn these pages over time. I mean, it can take 5, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, up to, I don't know, several minutes. I don't care much because we will temporarily have a dynamic page at this location. But then this dynamic page have to be turned into a static one.
Mm.
What makes sense again, until once it becomes static, it will be globally also quicker accessible for the global users. But once it's very new, there is no requirement actually to be quickly globally accessible from everywhere in the world, because the person who have created they are only like at one single location, and they need it for themselves, like for the first time, like first few seconds. It just, just one point. So yeah, I don't know, like maybe let's try to see. But again, I think we will not solve it probably in this session. It needs some deep diving, and I'm trying still to allocate some time, not just to code and experiment, but just go through the framework itself and figure out, have like a small example, very basic one, and this way like I progress with this maybe in the follow-up sessions. So
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, what should we do today? So we have a little bit of output, something that works. Mm.
just a second.
Mhm. No problem.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, at some point we'll also have to discover this Astro thing, because they wouldn't support some meaningless framework. It means, at least indicates that it's a promising one, and but it's nothing what we could probably like use in our project with what we think about, like the better meat one, right? I don't think like I don't see like any crazy benefits of being JavaScript free on the output. It perfectly can have some snippets of JavaScript, but still interesting to see how they would handle dynamic things, how it will be done, like, because that's difficult to imagine that you can, for particular use cases, you could completely get rid of it, of JavaScript. But maybe for later, we have just to keep
Mm.
it in mind once we have time to explore a little bit further, as we did last time with this HTMX. I'm
Yeah, that's true.
keeping forgetting the HTMX.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for now, I don't know. We did have some brainstorming today. Maybe we can just wrap it up and use this time uh, asynchronously, just to, you can go back to your stuff and I can use this time to explore SvelteKit, like do some experiments,
Yeah.
which are
Let's do
not
that.
worth demonstrating, because it will be, you know, not very fluid and nice, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe let's meet tomorrow and do some actual planning on our project if you want.
Yeah, then let's stop
That's
the
the thing.
recording anyways. Let's
Yeah.
discuss it. I will
Mm.
cut out the last part.